Okay, meet again in the channel of Not Afraid Economics. In Instability of Economics, we will talk today about neoclassical economic, which we will write like neoclassic economic. So in next couple minutes further, we will talk about like what is neoclassic economics, what's the difference between neoclassic economic with classical economics, and how to describe it in the model in the long run and in the short run. Okay, and for the notes, these notes I created for myself to make it easier to remember, like in the future for my own research. However, if it's useful for you guys, so feel free to see it and watch it. Okay, so neoclassical economic, it was pioneered or started by economists from UK named Alfred Marshall that lived in 1842 to 1824. So what's different between neoclassic economic and classical economics? We can take like kind of graph in the way like this. So in classical economic, let's find the color here. In classical, the economic focus on production. Okay, well in neoclassical, they focus more on human behavior and the perception of human as the driver in economy. So human have preferences, human have willingness to take the salary, the wages, and so on. As if you remember, like in classical economics, the model itself, it's look like this. If we take, this is GDP, and this is the price, that also meaning it's wages. So in the long run, all production or full employment production, it's look like this, and then the price will be in this way. So it's like P1, and then people tends to more to have better job and better salary. So there is P2 and the production, and goes up where the equilibrium. So this is aggregate supply. Okay, so an aggregate demand in the long run, it's look like this, AD1 and then AD2. So in the long run, people tend to have more wages, but there are certain limit. So it's like all the wage is like flexible, and certain limit that the price will reach the amount of limit, and the price will goes down into equilibrium, perhaps in here, P3, and finding the new equilibrium. Let's make it easier like this, maybe in here, AD3. Okay, but how about in neoclassic economic? So neoclassic economic, we believe that in human behavior, like everyone want to maximize the profit. Okay, and producent, this is the supplier or the producent, and then customer want to maximize their utility. However, they also can adapt if there is regulation, but minimum. Okay, that's in neoclassic economic. So we believe in the way that the circle will look like this, where there is a seller and where is a customer. Okay, where the customer buying stuff, like with input as the resource for the seller to produce something, and the seller will sell to the customer like goods or service. Okay, and all around the money is going in this way. Okay, so this is how it looks like. So in neoclassic economic, Alfred Marshall give a formula that it later will be easy for us to compare. How about in the long run, in the short run? There are like 3 scenarios. This is one scenario, second scenario, and then the third scenario. Okay, let's see the first one. So we describe this as P, or the price here, or the salary, and this is GDP. GDP described by the accumulation of government spending, investment, consumption, X minus M for economic, where it means export minus import. Okay, so in the full employment it's look like this, where people producing like and this is like aggregate supply in the long run. Okay, so how it looks like. So in the point at the beginning, we have like aggregate supply in this way. Let's use the color blue for example. So the first aggregate supply is this. Okay, and then let's say aggregate demand is this one, and we name it here as A. So this is the situation where the full employment happens, and then suddenly it's turned out that there are reduced in terms of economic. It could be like we move it into the aggregate supply because everyone, like there are like lower in production or lower in the consumption, that made the economic moving and shifting from A to B. Here, what that's mean? This is the situation that we call it as stagflation, or stagnant and inflation, which means like there are reduced in terms of the production, okay, and the price also goes up. Everyone are not that happy, but in terms of the let's say here, this is the before, this is the P1, this is the P2. Okay, in this situation, like we believe actually without any intervention from the government, people will be like the company will start to re-innovate, they will start to cut the amount of employee and so on, and we expect that without any government intervention from B will come back to A. That's in classical economics theory. However, some people who supporting the idea of the democrat where government have to participate in terms of the fiscal or monetary supply, like giving more surplus because people have to work and we have to fill the QF. So government give more budget to make everyone working, and it make the price goes to here, so B3. Okay, so instead of going from B to A, because of there was stagflation before, they moving to C. So everyone, if they are B to A, everyone will feel better off, but because from B to C, because the government put their participations or intervene the economics, it makes the everyone actually get more money, but then they also know that inflation goes up. So in the long run, people start to realize inflation, but in the short run, they don't really care about inflation. So with this situation, the economy come back, but everyone actually have a bad situation because they're asking for more salary and the price goes up. So this is usually happening if the government intervene the economy. That's the first one. The second one, let's say like this before. This is where A happening in here, and then here. This is the aggregate demand 1, and then this is aggregate supply 1, and then this is the price in here, P1. Okay. So the GDP here, it goes up to Q2 because more and more people consume. So the Q2 is in here. It makes the new aggregate demand to this level. In the short run, remember, people don't really care about inflation, and this actually it's good because the economy growing, okay, to amount of B. But because of everyone like the economy growing and so on, instead of like everyone enjoying, because everyone then got the salary raise in B, where economic also improving, in the long run they want to have more and more salary. So in the long run, actually the supply, it's come back to here. Okay, so it backs to C, and it makes people like P2, P3. So because of the more expensive input, like more expensive salary, as you know, like GDP is consists of consumption plus government spending plus investment, and then plus export and import for an economy. But we talk about closed economy. People in the long run, because of B, they more production, but then like people tends to ask and more salary, so it's come back to C. That's the second scenario. And the third scenario is on recession. Okay, in recession, let's say like we pull like here the aggregate demand and here the aggregate supply, and then let's name it is A here, and then suddenly something happened and the economy goes down here, and there is like, if we remember in Keynes, there are like range, which we call it as recession range, where the economic shrinking. Okay, this is GDP, this is price, because the economic shrinking to amount of B here, people basically will have situation that they are having bad situation and they cannot they have like lower capability and lower purchasing power. But because of going down here, actually the price is going down, okay, but the economy is shrinking and going down. If people at this point willing to work and with the less money and with the less wage, then it's okay, everyone is better off because the new equilibrium will be at this level. But because of everyone doesn't want to working in the lower salary, and because there are so many support from the government that people doesn't want to work in the level of B, it makes actually to put in the situation of C in the long run. The price can goes down, but everyone will get less and less money, but then it will be come back to the full employment in QF, which is this is Q2. So the new aggregate demand will be here, because here like it boosted can be from the government spending, but government spending made the economy bigger, but then everyone actually get less salary and less money itself. Okay, so that's how the three scenario of the model from neoclassical economic. Hopefully it helped, and if you have any question, feel free to ask in the comment section. Thanks.